Hello friends of the electrified charging fun and welcome to Electrified Speicher elektrisiert, your channel all around Skoda's e-mobility. As of now, there's a second electric vehicle on the MEB platform available at Skoda, the ELROQ. There are two of them. Let's go. Let's start with the exterior of the ELROQ, and I think we start at the front because that's the most distinctive change we've seen, because basically now they incorporated their new modern solid design, and for me this is special because for the first time ever Skoda is showing that an EV is an EV and no longer something which came from its heritage of some ICE. And it can't be more clear than done through this so-called tech deck here, that black little piece on the front. And there are two versions of it. You see here on the first edition of the ELROQ, the one with the light band. This is exclusive to the first edition, first place, but later on you can purchase it also for all other models. And as you see here, this is it without the light band. Then we've got the daylights in 4 segments. This is basically available if you go with matrix LED lights, and if you do not go with matrix LED, this is simply a complete light band. Speaking about matrix LED, they are down here, and I think that looks really great when it comes to the lighting. And one big change at the front, there is no more icon of Skoda. Now it's the word or the letter mark Skoda in front of the car. And over here, by the way, you see the exclusive color of the ELROQ. It's called Timiano Green, which is Esperanto for thyme, and I think they hit that color of thyme quite well. Now, let's go down a bit on that ELROQ, and down here where the air intake are, there's a speciality, because behind here there's a curtain which closes if no cooling is needed to get a better drag coefficient. Now, let's move around the ELROQ to the side, because I guess that's the most impressive view of that new car, because he looks so tiny. It does not look like 4.49 meters, and especially if you jump into the car, you will see a very roomy interior. Speaking about the measurement, 4.49 length, it's 1.88 meter wide, and it's 1.65 meter tall. So basically, we know those measures from the ENYAC. Exactly, it's an MEB platform car. So basically, that it is. If you look down here, it's 2.76 meters between the wheels. Speaking about those wheels, let's go a bit closer to them. You see those aero caps again, and you see that little plastic thing right here. And this covers a bit of the free space here to make it even more efficient. Now, let's move to the rear of the car, and when you look at the side, you see this distinctive line here, which is typically for Skoda. And now at the rear, you will see something you might know from the ENYAC. Yes, the tail lights. They are nearly the same, yet a bit more precise, a bit more detailed, I would say. And of course, the hatch on the back is also a bit modified. See here, this is different, and the rear bumper as well. And of course it's got the spoiler up here, still not painted. I don't understand why. And as with the ENYAC, the charging port is right here. Now let's move over to the Timiano Green one, so you can have a closer look at this one. And there's something which is also special and only with the ELROQ right now, and that is that chrome up here is no longer glossy. Now you have only, or to talk like this, back in the days, you only had the option to go with Sportline if you do not want to have chrome on your ENYAC. With the ELROQ, you got an option more, and I like that very, very much. And just for you to see, this is how it looks with the glossy black finish. Time to step into the car and look at the interior. And you will be surprised what you will see right now, because basically you could have had the impression, wow, that is an ENYAC. And exactly it is, because due to the same width, it is the ELROQ's cockpit. There is no change despite that the steering wheel now has the leather mark on it instead of the Skoda icon. And personally, I like that because now it is not getting that dirty anymore. And look at that roomy feeling. It's basically the same as within the ELROQ. And what I like really in that interior is they did a couple of changes which are really great. Look at this. No more glossy black paint. Finally a matte paint where you don't see your fingerprints anymore. And no more chrome here, which gives you light reflections that might disturb you. Now it's also only semi-gloss or gloss. Same goes there with the door handles. But basically, if you know the ELROQ, you know the ELROQ from within. The 13-inch display, the head-up display, which is optional in front. And yes, you feel home if you know the ELROQ. And now let's look at headspace here. I'm just 1.75 m, but there's plenty of room above me. So it's even good for bigger persons. And well, I guess we should also take a look at the rear, but before we do, look at the features of the special edition, the first edition. These orange threads right here and the orange straps right here, and this mix of leather in grayish color with the fabric here in a darker gray black color. I like that first edition. It gives a really good impression. And also here they changed this material. It looks quite better. Well, now let's jump to the back and see for the passengers in the back how many space do they really have. And if you look at this, you see there's a lot of space here. There's a lot of space above my head. And basically, if you have a look into this interior, there is really much room. You feel like being an ELROQ despite this car is 17 centimeters shorter. But where does that space come from? Well, I have a guess, and that has to do with the trunk. And let's have a look at the trunk. Well, time to have a look at the trunk or the boot, shall we? So let's open it up, and there we go. And here you are. And at first glance you would say, wow, that is roomy, that is spacey. But of course, the 7 centimeters which the ELROQ is shorter, somewhere you have to take the space from. And basically it's from this boot or trunk. So here we have 470 liters of storage compared to the ELROQ, which has 115 liters more. And if you open up the rear seat, you get 1,580 liters of storage space. Now let's have a more detailed look at that boot. Well, they changed the sides. Now you have a compartment here, you have a compartment here, and over here. And basically, you even got that barcode here. You can scan that QR code to get an interactive manual how to operate the trunk to your best use. Well, let's come back. Since you cannot store your charge cable any longer here due to those compartments, they came up with a clever trick. You now have that net up here, and you put the charging cable up in here. It has a maximum load capacity of 3 kilograms, but basically for a charging cable that is perfectly fine. But they removed the roller blind from behind and fold up here, so this is not that much great for me. I would prefer a roller blind, but it's perfectly fine as well, I guess. And you've got even more storage behind here. You can open this up. There's a little box where you can put stuff in. And of course, you have more space down here where you could put in additional things. So I would say, for a couple, or even for a couple with a dog, this is enough space to get everything into the car you need. We're out here on Skoda's test circuit, so I can test drive the new ELROQ and show you what it is capable of. And since we already saw the car, it's way more compact. It is 17 centimeters smaller than the ELROQ, but basically under the hood it is an MEB. So there are no surprises. You got the same batteries, the same engines, everything more or less stays the same, yet the ELROQ makes more fun. And I can prove that here on the track, because I can do whatever I want on the test circuit here. Now speeding up the ELROQ, this is an 85 to 180 kilometers. Of course you can go 180, not 160 with this car. And it feels pretty safe and comfort, even though we got some rain outside, we've got a wet track, and it feels comfortable at all. Right now in Czech Republic there is heavy rainstorms coming down, and it's not that easy, so we can't push it to the limit here. I'm a bit careful, I don't want to ruin that wonderful new ELROQ here. But let's see what it is capable due to the short overhangs of the car. It should be slightly more agile, slightly more fun to drive it than even an ENIAC. So let's put it to the test, going through the bend here. And yes, this is fun. It's fun driving on a test circuit. So now let's go. And how agile this gets into the gears, speeds up. It's pure joy. You see some leaves there, so it might be a bit slippery. I'm a bit careful here. Now let's do some driving. And the assistance system is there when you need it. I got no problem with over or understeering here. It's safe, it's sound, it's pure fun. Yes, this is how you drive an EV. This is where the emotion comes from. And then accelerate again, pushing through, pure fun. This is an agile car. This is a fun car. You can have lots of fun, especially if you are on a closed circuit like this one, where you do not have to worry about any rules of traffic. And now, since we are already at the end of that track, first off, let's go and make another round, shall we? Because it's fun to go. And here we are. Nice. This is how it's done. I love test tracks. And now let's see how our little ELROQ is when you turn on place. So let's see if it is suitable for the city. Look at this. You have the feeling that you are on a turntable just moving on the spot. This is quite better than in the ENIAC. This is nice. Look at this. Awesome. Yes, definitely useful in the city going like this, but going slow is not that much fun. So you see the track ahead. Let's go. Yes. Oh, I love that. That feeling is something only electric mobility can provide to you. And with that, this should be it for the test drive. My recommendation is, as soon as this car hits the dealership, go there, take it for a ride, get yourself a first impression on how agile and fun the ELROQ is to drive. Time to talk about the batteries, the engines, and everything around it. Well, the ELROQ will be available as a 50, 60, 85 and 85X all-wheel drive later in 2025, but the first three will be available rather short. And for those who are not familiar from the ENIAC with this is basically the battery size in kilowatt hours of capacity 60 and with the 85, 82 kilowatt hours. The bigger ENIAC with the 85, which has a range of WLTP 560 kilometers, we will put that to the test as soon as possible. And if you look at the engines, they go from 125 kilowatts to 210 kilowatts with the bigger batteries. And let's look quickly at the charging. Those two smaller ones, the 50 and the 60, can charge in 24 minutes from 10 to 80% with a maximum power of 145 kilowatts. And the bigger battery, that can charge in roughly 28 minutes from 10 to 80% and has a charging power of a maximum of 175 kilowatts. Of course, all cars come with preheating, so basically heating up the battery so that you can get the best charging experience. And the AC charging remains at 11 kilowatts, so as with the ENIAC. Let's do a quick look at the software. I don't go into much detail. We do that as soon as I get an ELROQ for driving a bit longer. But what you see here is software version 5.4, and that gets delivered with the ELROQ X Works. And the main important changes with the 5.4 is you no longer have to push the OK button when you drive the ELROQ. I can't show you because I'm not allowed to drive out of the studio, but as soon as you start driving, after a couple of seconds, that dialog disappears without tapping on it. Another very important thing you see down here. Now there are 4 instead of 3 icons fitting, and this is because finally they managed to put all the important apps in here. This means also that we have a highly reduced vehicle settings menu here, which is also easier to operate. And some important changes are done to the favorites, because there are some new functions available which are really great. Let me show you some. There's heaters, which activates different heating systems like seat heating, steering wheel heating and conditioning to free the car from ice directly. Then you've got charging, and what I like the best are those two. You can directly hit start battery heating from the favorites, and you can deactivate ISA, the intelligent speed assistant. That's a huge improvement in quality of life with the software. But the software itself remains the same, as you already know from software version 4, 4.1 or maybe 5.2 if you've got a very new ENIAC. And I think this should be it for the software from now. It gives you a brief overview, and we do the rest as soon as I get my hands on an ELROQ. So now let's talk about prices and availability. And I bet price is a big surprise for you, because the ELROQ starts at around 33,900 euros. Well, that is the 50, the basic version, but for that segment, with what you're getting here, this is really a good price, at least from my point of view. Of course, it can reach way up higher. Think about the 85X with everything in it, or maybe the first edition. I bet you're way up high in the 40s. And at the beginning of the selling of the car, the first edition will be available in limited amounts, yet the 85X is not available before 2025. When is it available? Well, it directly starts at the 2nd of October, when you can go to the online configurator and order one. So be prepared, if you like the ELROQ, to get your hands on that very soon, because I think there might be a long queue for deliveries, because I'm pretty sure this car is a really bestseller in its segment and in the markets as soon as it gets out of the production line here in Mladá Boleslav. Now I'm interested in what your thoughts are about the ELROQ. Write me down in the comments. What do you think about the lineup, the new one, the electric one with Skoda, and how does the ELROQ fit in for you? Don't you think that this is the perfect pendant for the ICE Karoq? And about the price, I'm pretty interested what you say to that aggressive one in the European market. Write me down in the comments. And if the ELROQ was a car for you, well, in case this is so, please like the video if you had a good time with it. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more ELROQ in the future, because I'm pretty sure the ELROQ will be more often on my channel. And when we see each other in the next video, and until then, stay full of energy.